Hello my fellow dev noobs and welcome back to the JavaScript Basics series. My name is Jacob and once again I will be your host, walking you through the exciting world of web development. This time we will cover arguably one of the most important built-in objects in JavaScript programming language, and that is arrays. But what exactly is an array? Well, according to the definition, it is an object that enables storing a collection of multiple items under a single variable name. It also contains properties and methods to perform certain operations with these items. The most notable characteristics of an array in JavaScript are as follows. JavaScript arrays are zero-indexed, which means that first element has index 0, the second index number 1, and so on. The arrays are not associative, which means that items within array cannot be accessed using arbitrary strings as indexes, but must be accessed using non-negative integer, or their respective string form as indexes. JavaScript arrays are resizable. By default, it can contain items with different data types. All array copy operations create shallow copies. So, how to create an array? There are at least 3 different ways to create new array. Let's see them in action. I will first skip to the option number 2 because this one is interesting, in a way that you do not actually need to use the keyword new and can omit it, and the result will be exactly the same. As you can see, after creating arrays, I used a property of an array object called length to get the size of an array. You can do many interesting things with this property, but let's keep that for a separate video. For now, let's just keep in mind that length property defines how many elements are in the array, and that the last element in the array always has the index equal to length of an array minus 1. In the next example, I will show you how to create an array with non-zero length but without any items. Again, we have multiple options on how to achieve the same result. In all of the 3 options, we are creating the array with the same size. The length is set to 5. Whether we use the keyword new or not, the result is the same. We end up with the arrays with non-zero length but no actual values. The next topic we will cover is array indices. As we mentioned earlier, the index of an array cannot be an arbitrary string, but instead has to be a non-negative integer or the respective string form of that. The array elements are object properties of the array object, which technically means that you can access them in 2 different ways, using bracket notation or dot notation. However, in reality, there is a JavaScript syntax requirement that properties beginning with a digit have to be accessed exclusively using bracket notation. Let's explore both of these concepts with the practical examples. As we can see, the first command fails because it expects a closing bracket after the variable name. The other 2 got the same value, element with the index 0. Next example shows that if the string representation of the index is not identical, it will not produce identical results. First 3 expressions are identical because both number 2 and string 2 are internally converted into string value of 2. The third number with leading zeros gets us the same result because internal conversion into string removes all the zeros from the beginning. The last example is different because we are already using string values and it is different from the results of the 3 previous ones. It will give us undefined because such property does not exist in the given array object. How to add and change values at the given index, you ask? I showed you how to get the value from the specific position in an array. If you try to access the index that does not have any values assigned, you will simply get undefined. If you, on the other hand, want to define value at the index that did not exist so far, All you need to do is to use array variable name and bracket notation with the desired index and assign a new value to it. The process of changing the value at an existing index is the same as with creating a new one. Simply assign a new value to the given position. Once again, to see once is better than to hear or read 100 times. So let's show how it works in the example. As you can see, trying to access an element with an index that does not exist results in a value undefined. When you set the value for a new element with a given index, the array and its length changes. When you assign a new value to an index that was already occupied with a different value, the length of the array does not change, but the array itself does. The last topic to cover is array methods, which are generic. Interesting fact about methods of array object is that they are always generic. They do not access any array-specific or internal data. They simply rely on the fact that the object used with the array method has a property called length and some indexed elements. What does it mean exactly? Well, it means that you can practically call array methods on object that fulfills these simple conditions. I will show you what I mean in the last example of today's lecture. The method indexOf belongs to an array object and its purpose is to return the index of the first element with value identical to searched value. In our case, it was the value gamma, and the returned position was correctly identified as number 2. In case that given array does not contain a searched value, the method returns -1, as was the case in the second example, because our array-like object did not contain value omega. These were some of the use cases of using arrays in JavaScript. There are thousands of other situations, and we will surely cover many of them once we go through individual methods of array object in the upcoming days. In the meantime, stay focused and keep an eye on the new episodes which will be uploaded daily. See you in the next one, where I explain all the nuances of using the only array object property called length.